think I'm one of the luckiest people in the world because I knew from the moment I was conscious that all that interested me was the piano and that I was going to be a pianist. Well, I auditioned when I was about 8 or 9, but I didn't start, and I was accepted, but I didn't start going there until I was, I don't know, about 10 or 11 or something like that. And whereas when I was in grade school in New York, I was out 10 days a month out of school because of illness, I never missed one day of school at the Curtis Institute of Music. Yes, we had math, we had English, French, German, very, very good. Private tutors. Well, people use these words so facilely these days. Does that mean that Beethoven was not a romantic, and Mozart was not a romantic, and Bach was not a romantic? Of course they were romantics. They had the great visions, the great imaginations. They were absolutely the great romanticists. They started music what it is today. And so I don't like the word, actually. And those are artificial words. Classical, romantic, modern is what everybody studies today. And that's just too silly. I must tell you the truth, they were all. I was very easily inspired. And I suppose I still am to this day. But they were all. Well, of course, Joseph Hoffman was the god of my childhood. The effortlessness, I don't know, it must be childish childhood memories, but I never heard a piano sound that good in my life to this very day. My teacher was David Saberton, and he was an absolutely stunning, remarkable pianist. He was the son-in-law of Leopold Godowsky, who was considered to be one of the great masters of all time. We're all supposed to be humble and modest in front of the great works of art, and the great works of Beethoven and Mozart and Chopin. We spend our lives preparing for it, studying, restudying, playing it well, playing it badly, changing our minds about the way we approach it. But when all is said and done, no matter how humble we are, we walk out on the stage and we say, this is what I say Ludwig says. This is what Wolfgang says. And this is what Frederick says. And any other composer that we play. So that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to say this is what I think, or what I insist on at the moment that Beethoven says. And I think that goes for every artist under the sun, whether he's successful or not. I mean, some may be unsuccessful, and it doesn't mean that they're giving any less. They each develop their own personality, and but each one develops its own character, you know, and you could go down in a room full of 12 pianos and come down with a dozen pianists, and they might all pick different pianos as their favorite artists. And the piano companies have each their own conception of sound and their own conception of mechanics and everything of that sort. And you can very easily sometimes pick out the difference between a Yamaha, a Baldwin, a Steinway, a Bösendorfer, a Bechstein, all these companies. And it's not to say that any one of them is bad. It's just a question of the sort of sound that interests the performer. I'm more interested in the sound of the piano and the amount of color and the amount of things like that. That's the only thing that relaxes me or that interests me when I perform. I don't specialize in anything. I specialize in the piano, in the repertoire of the piano. I think of the Chopin recordings, I think I like best of all the etudes and the four scherzi. The recording industry forces you sometimes into a situation. I mean, I never dreamt of recording 21 waltzes or 19 nocturnes of Chopin. I adored them, absolutely. But I never played 19 nocturnes. I never dreamt. The etudes I played, all the etudes I played by the time I was 14 or something or other, that was a relatively simple job. And many's the time I've been to someone's house after a concert or something or other, and we talk about records, and they'd say, "Oh, I have a lovely recording of this piece." I said, "Who's it by?" And they go and look, and it's me. And they didn't even know it was me. The greatest disaster for the artists was the tape machine, was the edited record. I said, in the first place, nobody will let you, will let out a record with a wrong note on it. The whole thing is unrealistic. It's not, logistically, it's not possible for you to sit down and play a piece for a half hour, or at least it's not possible for me, shall we say, for a half hour and not graze another note, not hit another note. Well, if you listen to the recordings of, I mean, this has been said many times before, of Rachmaninoff, of all the great artists who recorded on 78 in those dear old days, I mean, they hit masses of extra notes. Loved playing the first time in my life in Carnegie Hall. But then again, I loved playing the first time in my life in London. I mean, the first time I played with orchestra in London was with, good Lord, Sir
Malcolm Sargent.
Mayer with Malcolm Sargent in the Albert Hall. This was before the festival hall was built, and I'll never forget that as long as I live. I really don't think, I just want to go on doing what I'm doing, and hoping that I can continue to have a minor impact on the people I deal with and the audiences I play for. I mean, I think that's what every artist wants to do. If I retire in January, I'll be dead by May. It's that I can't imagine what I could do. I'm a narrow person. Music has been my whole life, and even though sometimes it's hateful, it still is my whole life. I don't worry about my past successes or failures or whatever it was, and I'm only interested in continuing to do what I do as well as I possibly can. I think that's what any artist wants to do. But so long as I can crawl out on the stage and make it to the chair, I'll be happy to do that.